Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Reviews, and heavy spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen episode 4 of the second season. You have been warned. I feel like MAPPA have a new style of killing off a female character, and then in the next episode they reanimate that sequence in a different perspective, and we just get straight into the battle of Gojo versus Fushiguro. I really do like Goto's white dragon design. It's possibly one of the more visually appealing creatures of Jujutsu Kaisen I've seen so far, and right away the animation is pretty damn phenomenal. Although I was expecting a lot more because a lot of people were hyping up this episode, as it was directed by Arifumi Ima, the main action animation director from Attack on Titan seasons 1 to 3, the man behind the Levi vs Kenny sequence. And some of these scenes do remind me of that episode, mainly the sequences with Fushiguro. I think the art impressed me a whole lot more than the animation. Each episode of the second season, the art keeps getting better and better. The scene when Fushiguro used his curse manipulation riffraff, and the entire sequence looks like something out of a 70s horror flick. The design reminded me a whole lot of Rika from the Zero movie, but the fight ends a lot earlier than I expected. Yes, Gojo gets completely pummeled by Fushiguro, but I expected the fight to go on for a little bit longer. Later on in the episode, Gojo confronts Fushiguro, and personally this was the part of the episode that really caught my attention. It seems that Gojo has grasped the true essence of cursed energy by being on the verge of death. I'm not gonna lie, I underestimated this dude. Last week I kept saying that I felt like he was a little weaker than I expected him to be, but yeah, Gojo has really surprised me in this episode. But also he's a little bit crazy as well. I've never seen this dude acting the way he did in this episode. The voice actor must have had the time of his life, and I've never seen Gojo's eyes look the way they do in this episode. There's so many intense close-up shots of his eyeballs that honestly make me really uneasy. But Fushiguro and Gojo both battle it out, and after some really impressive moves of him whipping that chain around like a ballerina, Gojo has a pretty bizarre moment. He seems to be conscious yet at the same time unconscious. It's like he's awakened some sort of sixth sense and is able to sense so much around him. He doesn't even feel sad that Riko got killed. He says something pretty damn interesting. He mentions that the Zenin clan knows about the limitless technique, but the Gojo clan people, not a lot of people know about it. I wonder why that is. Why is it that only a select few people in the Gojo clan know about this technique, yet a completely different clan knows about that technique? My theory is that this technique that Gojo is using might have originated from the Zenin clan, and maybe one of Gojo's ancestors awakened that power and it's been kept a top secret within the Gojo clan. But who knows, it could be true. We get some pretty damn artsy looking scenes of red and blue droplets merging together, which beautifully sync into the next scene of Gojo activating his imaginary technique purple. I feel like this is where the animation for me really started to wow me. And I can definitely see Arifumi Ima's creative vision in this sequence. There's just a lot of match cuts and dynamic perspective shots in this episode that truly make you feel a certain way. For me, most of these scenes made me feel uneasy looking at them, and I feel like as the audience you are meant to feel uneasy because Gojo is acting not quite like himself. It's almost like he's become a different person and something deep inside of him has been awakened, and at the snap of his fingers Gojo completely obliterates Fushiguro. Fushiguro then talks about how he had originally chosen to live with not respecting himself or anyone else, getting a shot of a lady holding a baby that may be Megami's mother and baby Megami. So it's pretty much confirmed that this dude is the father of Megami. I do hope the showrunners explain more into Fushiguro's past. I would truly like it if the showrunners explains why Fushiguro walked away from his family. After the end credits, we have a really visually intense sequence of Gojo looking down at one of the cursed creatures. I love the red scenery just symbolizing the despair. The whole dynamic towards the end where Gojo and Gojo are talking to one another. Gojo was really stunned by Gojo's appearance. Gojo has always been shown as this goofy, happy-go-lucky dude, but I don't think Gojo has ever seen him looking so murderous in this moment. He talks about murdering the people behind him, which appear to be worshippers of Tengen. It's a pretty odd statement for someone like Gojo to say, and really out of character. I feel like when Gojo is put on the verge of death, this dark power that seemed to originate from his eyes almost sort of consumes him. This seems really interesting because knowing where we are in the present day with Gojo and Gato being on the villain side and Gojo being on the hero side, I don't know, this whole sequence just makes Gojo look really villainous, while Gato seems to be shown more in a good light. I don't know, dude. Gojo was really scaring me a little bit in this episode. But yeah, that's pretty much my overall thoughts of this episode. A pretty visually dazzling episode, although there was a lot of exposition that really confused me in the middle half of the episode, so I might need to rewatch it to really get the gist of what's going on. I think I'll give this episode a 8 out of 10, and I think I'll give it a B+. Visually appealing, but I think narratively it wasn't as strong as episode 3. Again, the expositions were a little bit too much for me, but that's just a small little nitpick. Tell me in the comments down below what you guys thought of this episode. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Like for more, but thank you for watching, and as always, a boy did the review signing out.